Hi, this is Suzanne, and this is the Love in Pieces channel. I have just started my YouTube video journey, so this is number 2 for me. Hopefully I'll be getting a little bit better as I go along. If you watched the first video, you know that I'm recovering from knee replacement surgery, so I'm not able to be in my craft room. I'm actually on the couch, just trying to pass the time and not be bored. I brought out some of my crafting items, some small things that are easily transported back and forth, but don't trash the living room too much. So I'm just kind of sharing some things that I've done. This probably won't be a true watch me make it type video because I'm holding my phone in my hand on the couch. But I wanted to share with you an idea that I came up with. I'm trying to challenge myself to use the bits and pieces that are in my room. One, they're easier to bring out, and two, it's kind of like a mystery basket challenge, just catching what I can and carrying it in here and seeing what I can do. This is actually a Stampin' Up punch that I got. I'm actually not sure where. My collection has come from a lot of different pieces, things I've bought, Facebook groups, Facebook Marketplace, people selling around town and local sales. But this is actually like a triple punch. It's an older one, I believe. But you move the slider and you can punch out 3 different shapes that coordinate from one punch. And if you layer them all up, it makes this really pretty layered doily. One thing about this punch, and I think I know why they don't make a lot like this, because of the pressure, different varying pressures it takes to get them all 3 out. So the first one, when you punch it, it's a light pressure. You don't punch down very far. It makes a pretty good cut. It's the best probably of the 3 versions. The second layer is like a mid-weight punch. You have to push pretty hard to get it out, but probably more like a standard punch would be. This third one, you have to push really hard to get this to cut out. It doesn't cut as cleanly, and it also, it tears up the paper when you do it. Like it creases the paper around it. It's like it gets caught in all the little crevices of the different layers. So while I like the idea and the design that it makes, I know why Stampin' Up probably doesn't do these multi-layer punches very much. But I've got it in my craft room, and I really wanted to challenge myself to use it. So I pulled it out, started punching it, learned all those different pieces on it, and still wanted to try to do something. So here is the card that I came up with. This is the light pink and dark pink are Stampin' Up paper. This floral pattern comes from, I believe it was some card bases I bought from Hobby Lobby. Again, I really love Stampin' Up paper and ink, but you're going to see a mix of things. My craft room is made up of years and years of collecting different parts and pieces from places, so I'm not just one distributor or one style or one type. I made my card base standard A2 size card at let's see, 5.5 by 4 1/4. I say those measurements a lot, but never out loud. So 5.5 by 4 1/4. I cut just a 1/4-inch strip of this coordinating pale pink to go across the front to kind of border between the floral and the dark pink. This I just glued onto the top and trimmed around the edges. So I think most of y'all know how to do that. I didn't really measure it. I just glued it on and then trimmed what stuck over. This is the part that I was intrigued about. As I was practicing with the punch and seeing what worked and what didn't, I wanted a darker color and I didn't have this paper cut, so I just grabbed some and punched it. And then when I saw, well, I've messed up one whole sheet of paper for a punch, I thought, what can I do with that? So I actually took the punch that's in the dark is the base punch. It's like just the outside shape. So it cut out the whole kind of scalloped circle here. Then I punched the top layer, the most delicate layer, out of that pale pink, and I inlaid it. Now we do a lot of paper piecing where we put pieces together, we inlaid back into dies. I was doing this with kind of a punch, and so when you open it up, you can see through. I left it on the inside so that you've got this nice, neat little see-through piece. Rather than wasting this whole piece of cardstock for one punch or cutting it and just using it as a card base or front, to hide it, I thought, what can I do to make that show up? So really all I did, I took the inlay piece and I just lightly went around it with a little bit of glue. I laid it into the hole and then just pressed it really, really good. Used my bone folder, went around the edge, made sure that I had a good connection and a seal. And so that actually kind of inlaid the paper. It's nice and smooth. It feels seamless going between them, but I've got that cute little cutout. And so because I wanted to keep almost like the illusion until you opened it up, I wanted it to look like it was just on top of this paper until you actually opened the card. I kept my insert, my writing space. I lifted it up and didn't put it the full part on the inside. Now, I've gone back and forth with embellishments. What would I add to this? How could I jazz it up? I tend to keep my cards fairly flat because going through the mail, there is that concern of, are they too thick? Will they go through? Do they take extra postage? Do they have to be hand stamped? If you mail dimensional cards, you know all those questions. And I like just keeping them flat. I know this one is going in the mail. I've got several people I want to send thank you cards to who have, you know, sent meals and done things to help me during my surgery. So I want to make sure that this can be mailed. And so I think I'm just going to leave it as it is and let it live as this cute little inlaid card. I think that's pretty sweet. My sentiment is going to go on the inside, again, so that it doesn't detract from the front. Now, again, still playing with this punch, I have come up with a second style, and this one, this is one of the Hobby Lobby card bases. They're a little flimsy. I don't like that they're this lightweight, but this one just happened to be really pretty. It's got these almost like subdued doily shapes like colored into it. And so I took some of the extra punches that I made and just lifted them up on dimensionals to put on this one. And my sentiment is going to go here. So you don't have to always get... you don't always have to go from scratch. You don't have to use the stamps. You don't have to use the stencils. Sometimes you can find really pretty paper that matches a design and can give you some elements that with just some die cuts, some punches, some pop-up elements, and a sentiment, you can have a really nice card. So again, I need several thank you cards, and I'm probably going to need to make at least 12 to send out to people. And this was a quick way to use not only a punch that I haven't been using and wanted to try out, but also to start using up some scraps and smaller pieces of my papers. That's where this came from. And then also using up some card bases that I haven't been too crazy about because they're thinner. But I think once I add my sentiment to the front, it's going to give a little bit more kind of weight to the front. And then even though this is white, I am going to go ahead and put a white sentiment place in here, a place to write my message on the inside. Again, it's going to give it some bulk. It'll help it stand up a little bit easier. See, this is wanting to blow over just with the ceiling fan. And it's just going to make it feel a little bit more sturdy and what I like my homemade cards to feel like. This feels just a little light for me. And that's one reason I haven't used the Hobby Lobby bases. I've tended to cut them apart and use them as fronts on other pieces like I did here. So just sharing some ideas as I'm sitting here, passing the time, waiting on waiting on surgery to heal. For those of you that watched the first video, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the comments and the thumbs up. I appreciate that support. And for those of you who has found this one for the first time, I have one other YouTube video up if you want to go find it. And hopefully along the way, I'll get some more out. But thank you for watching. Come back, watch some more. And as always, be creative, be nice, and have a great day.